Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of the now being called Going for Two podcast. Found that Sportify was kind of tough to find, so we've already altered the name. Actually altered it a couple times between me and Taylor, but we've settled on Going for Two. This isn't only a football podcast. This is a kind of all sports podcast. So far we've only talked about football, and we're going to be talking football again today when we talk about the top 10 quarterbacks in college football. But before we do that, and before we kind of go over the games we talked about last episode, I have a little bit of I want to take from you, Taylor.
Okay.
And it has to do with soccer. So this is what I mean. I told you before we started recording, this was kind of between just me and you because we talk soccer. We can pretty much talk each other's ears off. Thomas Tuchel has just been named the England manager.
What about it?
And this is what I want to show you. I'm actually going to present my screen here so you can see it. And you can, I don't know if you'll be able to read it. If not, I'm going to read this part to you because I think it's absolutely hilarious. I probably should have, whatever, you guys can see. People on YouTube are going to be able to see my my bookmarks, but they can get over it. That's fine.
It's probably all just weird horse porn.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, it's showing the wrong one. Hold on. I can fix it.
Oh, technical difficulties. We're going to get this worked out, I promise.
There we go. Again, it's kind of small. I don't know if you guys be able to see it, but if not, I'll put the link in the description on the YouTube video so you guys can see this. So anyways, obviously you can see the main headline is A Dark Day for England. First off.
I mean,
how so? How so? It says the Three Lions gamble on a German. German's in all caps. And Tuchel has only 18 months to prove that he's up to it. Every international management position contract pretty much expires after the World Cup. And when does the World Cup end? 18 months. So again, absolutely nothing.
Right. I mean, same thing you go with the new U.S. head coach. It's one of those that you're just like, I mean, clearly that's what they're there for. We've got this coming up.
Right. And it's interesting that you bring up Pochettino, who is the head coach of, or the manager of the U.S. national team now, for those who didn't know. Because I'm going to use him as an example in this. So I'm going to read a little bit of this, and I'll comment as I go, and you can just go. It is kind of small on my screen, so sorry, YouTube. I'm going to have to lean this way to read it. International football, or soccer as we like to call it, should be the best of ours versus the best of theirs. Gareth Southgate might not have been everyone's cup of tea, but he gave our national team identity, and the players and all of us a reason to believe. I follow international soccer pretty well, and so do you. You follow soccer. Everyone hated Gareth Southgate. They wanted him gone before the last World Cup. They wanted him gone.
And that's almost like one of those with what is it? Man U's head coach. Everybody wants that motherfucker gone. It's one of those.
Exactly.
There are always going to be coaches and players within any league, whether that is soccer, baseball, basketball, that everybody hates and nobody likes. So what is the point of why try to lie?
Yeah. Like they're painting it out to be like, oh yeah, we loved Gareth Southgate. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You hated him. You wanted him gone. Now that he's gone, and someone that's before I get into that, let me get to the next paragraph. He wore the Three Lions on his shirt as a player and brought that force and pride into the job every day. He went from Euro 96 as a player to semifinals and finals, 2 of them as manager. He is one of us. I don't know what it is about, I guess, English soccer. According to this, they're obsessed that the manager should be English.
Right.
And you look at the best managers in soccer right now, they're not English.
No. And that's one of those.
They're not.
That'd be the same. That'd be no different than us throwing a huge fit because Berhalter got fucking canned. and the new guy comes in is not English or not American, and you're just like everybody's like, "There's no way!" And throws
Yeah,
a massive
I
fit
mean,
about it, and you're just like, guys, like if the guy can come in and help us fucking win games and potentially like win a World Cup or at least make a run, I'm all for it. And not to
right.
take anything away from like Berhalter, because if anything he did amazing for soccer in the U.S. is he was a great recruiter, and he brought out a lot of nice big names for us that should translate on paper to playing well together. He just wasn't a great manager, and it's one of
Right.
those, it happens.
Right, but it's in America is a very, oh yeah, America's number one, shotguns and fireworks and
Yeehaw!
yeah, exactly. England's not necessarily known for that, but this little comment, I guess is what it's called.
It's
just hilarious to me.
It's almost one of those ones where you're like, guys, like you're being a tad bit almost like racist towards this, and
it's a little bit. It
like,
really is a little bit.
He's not English. He's German. Fuck
he's German
guy.
in all caps. In all caps, he's German. It says now we have Thomas Tuchel, a German with a questionable managerial background. The man won a Champions League not that long ago.
Yeah.
The guy has coached at like the biggest clubs in the world: Bayern Munich, right. PSG, Chelsea.
He was on a short list for Man U before they decided to stay with.
He was. He hasn't really worked out in a lot of places. I think he has a personality thing, so it seems like, at least, since it keeps bouncing around so much.
Everybody's got a personality thing. Like, it's one of those ones that we all want to be snowflakes, and nobody wants to be told no, or you can't do that, or you're gonna do this. Fuck that. It's one of those ones that if he can come in and help that team be better and win games and potentially compete, I don't see what the problem is.
And I totally agree.
And I think England's got to be on a short list. I think England's got to be on a short list for probably one of the top 5 teams in the upcoming World Cup. Yeah, one of those ones that, like, there's just that team's loaded with talent. So it's one of those ones, maybe it's just a fresh manager to come in, spice up it, and potentially add his own flair on trying to bring those kids together. I mean, it's no different than America right now, bringing in somebody fresh and new 18 months before the next World Cup. So it's a little on the racist side. England, like,
it is, but I have a question for you. An end question, so after this we'll move on. If it was Pep, do you think this would be the headline? A dark day for England. 3 Lions gamble on a Spaniard.
I wouldn't think so, but I mean,
I wouldn't think they did this.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, and I wonder if, like, your thought on that is, like, I mean, Pep is already over there, coaches one of the teams that they see week in and week out, so he's known. But it's just one of those that I'm like, I don't know. But it definitely, like, the whole German take on that is wild.
This whole thing is ridiculous. It's like an AI wrote this, and they went the most, like, nationalist like take.
It's like he's not English. Get him out.
Right.
We don't want you here, you damn Germans.
Yeah. Like, what are you? There's no reason for any of that.
Right. Like, that's fucking wild. I'm so glad I got to see that.
I saw that and immediately wanted to get your take on this.
Oh
crap! I totally forgot to. I don't know. Hold on. Let's talk about the games. We'll just keep it going while I do this off camera. Utah, Arizona State is what we're going to start with. That was the Friday game. I forgot this game was on Friday and missed it.
Oh, sad day.
Arizona State ended up winning 27-19. We both thought that they could win this outright, easily cover, but win it outright, and they did.
And like I said, one of those. I think that Utah team coming off of a rough loss on their last game, and then you're going to play an Arizona State team that is it's chippy and chirpy, and like they're out there. So I mean, you could possibly see if Arizona State keeps playing like it is and try to compete for a Big 12 championship.
You gotta slow your roll on that one. They played well, but they got a long way to go.
You've got, if you look at the back half of their season, you've got Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, UCF. The only two games I'm like really worried about in that is that Kansas State and that BYU.
Yeah, Kansas State's going to be tough, especially at home. Trying not to show the bias there, but
No,
playing at the Bill, that's hard. Arizona couldn't do it. Granted, Arizona, we'll talk about them in a second too. But I don't disagree.
Yeah.
They're actually underdogs again this week against Cincinnati, but they are down Sam Leavitt, their quarterback, so they're using their transfer from Nebraska. Is it Jeff? I think it's Jeff Sims is his name. I know his last name's Sims, and he's a transfer from Nebraska, so he's going to be playing instead of Leavitt. But they do have Cam Scatabo.
Yeah.
The very underrated running back who I really like. Alabama, South Carolina. I watched this game pretty much start to finish.
But you had to.
Not really. I watched it. I was by myself. I was actually at a child's first birthday party, so they had it on
phone.
Nope, they had it on. They had it on there. It was crazy. So, 27 to 25, Alabama squeaked it out at home.
Yeah.
Alabama kind of needs to find an identity.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I was going to say like they need to hunker down on something, embrace it, and just full force go. If not, this is going to be an interesting SEC race for the championship game because there's still plenty of light for us and teams to see.
And it doesn't get easier for them. They're in Knoxville this week.
Like they've got Tennessee, into Missouri, LSU, and then they have just Mercer. So there's your like easy game back half of the season. Oklahoma, and then you finish every year with a competitive game against Auburn.
Well, it was competitive last year.
Yeah, but it's the same.
It shouldn't have been.
It's a rivalry game. Like I said, that it's gonna get chirpy. Like I said, that could go either way. So yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody's got really just an easy walk into that SEC championship. I think we're in for a lot of interesting games over the coming weeks and in SEC football.
It's kind of like the real like good thing that's come out of this conference realignment is that and of course these are all SEC teams playing SEC teams so far, but like this weekend we're getting Texas and Georgia. Like we wouldn't normally see that, but we're seeing all these really good games.
You're getting I think a good preview of what you could look at in that college football playoff, where you're going to see these teams that you normally, like I said, SEC is a little different on that, but some of these teams you would have never thought to see, but you may see a repeat game. Like I said, you easily could see another like Texas Georgia game.
Right. For sure. Mizzou and UMass. We thought Mizzou would go in there and roll them. They did 45-3. I'm not going to give them any credit whatsoever. Clemson, Wake Forest. What'd you say?
I was like, cool, you won. You won the game you're supposed to win.
Yeah, we're not going to they did cover, but I think it was like 27.5.
Yeah.
Or it might have been even more than that. We had one on here that was like minus 34. That might have been it.
Yeah.
Clemson, Wake Forest. I know they were 20 points favorites because we were basically saying that's a lock. They'll beat Wake Forest by 20, and they beat them by well more than that.
Yeah, what did it end up, 35?
35, yeah. They beat them by 35.
I think 49-14. Another one of those ones we talked about where it was kind of just a soft layup. You knew it should as long as everybody played like it should have played. But we've seen crazier stuff this year.
We have. I mean, Clemson definitely looks completely different than they did week 1, week 0.
Yeah.
Whichever week they played. Well, I don't know if they really played. I wouldn't really call that playing football, but that's not the case anymore for Clemson. They're offense.
Yeah, that game 1 against Georgia was a rough one for them.
Yeah. Surprise of the week: Illinois and Purdue. Illinois squeaked out a 1-point win at home.
In overtime.
50-49.
And against a 1-4 Purdue team.
Yeah. Like what? Purdue got blown out by Wisconsin 42-7 the week before, and then they come up to put 49. I watched the highlights of this game, and I wasn't like planning on watching this, so I had to watch the highlights. once I saw the score.
Right.
They were down a lot at halftime.
Yeah, they were down, which 24-3 at half.
Yeah. And then to score
You scored
46 points and a half.
17 in the third, 23 in the fourth, and then you, like I said, did they go for 2 to try to just outright win it?
If I'm remembering correctly, I think they went for 2.
Hey, and that's it. You like the balls on it to do something.
I love it. You have nothing to lose. You're not supposed to be in that situation. It's the same thing.
You're 1-4 in that situation. Like I said, you go for the home run, and if you miss out on it, you miss out on it. But you got your name out there, and you showed people that you can play.
Absolutely, it's very much like Kansas State and Texas last season.
Yeah,
Kansas State was getting like absolutely destroyed in the first half, and they started to build this comeback in the second half. And in the fourth quarter, instead of kicking a field goal to tie it, and they were like inside the 5, they went for it, or something of that nature. I can't remember off the top of my head. And they didn't make it, but it's like they weren't supposed to be there. But I wasn't mad that they even lost the game because they weren't supposed to be in that situation anyway. So I'm not mad that they didn't. I think they might have just been going for 2 and lost by 1.
Yeah,
I could be just crazy. But I know that was something like that happened in the K-State Texas game, and I was not mad at the loss. I actually loved the call. Pitt and Cal, real close one.
Real low scoring. We talked about that. It was one of those ones that I thought Cal was going to stay in it, have a chance to win it.
Yeah, for sure. Pitt ended up winning 15-17, so Pitt goes to 6-0.
They're still hanging out with the undefeated teams. I just don't know.
They are, but
it wasn't like that's one of those ones that like if you have a chance to put yourself out there and be like, hey, we're here, we're going to show up, and you really didn't put that statement out there. So like I said, it's still one of those ones week to week we're going to kind of have some worries on whether you're legitimate or not.
Right. Out of the undefeated teams, I don't know if how many are there?
I think it's only like 5, if that.
No, it's not 12.
I think it's like 5 or 6.
Okay, so we got Texas, Oregon, Penn State, Miami, Iowa State, BYU, Indiana, Pitt, Army, Navy, and Liberty. It's 12.
Yeah.
Out of those 12, they're probably the worst undefeated Power 4 team.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that.
I kind of put them on the same kind of. I mean, I just don't like, other than their win against West Virginia. It's there's nothing really that really stands out and impresses me.
Yeah.
It's not like an Indiana who's playing.
Like I said, and they've got a couple games coming up that, like I said, they've got a chance to show that they're legitimate. They've got SMU in 2 weeks, which they bounced up and they're ranked 21, and then you've got Clemson in the back half of the season. So they'll have a chance to show if they're legitimate or not. I don't see it. Like I said, they could surprise us, but we'll see how it plays.
I agree. But speaking of Penn State USC. Probably the game of the afternoon, 33-30. USC was winning probably for 75% of this game.
Yeah, I mean they were up 20-6 at half.
Yeah, USC almost had this one in the bag, and my upset call was looking pretty good, and then Miller Moss threw an interception late in the game, and it cost him the game.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, that's another one of those ones where like you at least played it there, gave yourself a chance to win. I mean, sometimes week to week, that's all you can ask for.
Right. I think it definitely proved
the chips just don't fall the way they should or the way you'd like them to. But I mean, I think that's a good even a loss there. I think it's good for USC. They can show that they can compete against some of those top ranked teams. Like I said, you get on a nice little heater to finish out the season, try to push yourself into like getting up there. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll definitely have. They still got some other tests that they'll have to get through in the Big Ten, but I think they're going in the right direction to become a relevant, competitive. I mean, they're competitive. Don't get me wrong, but a real contender in the Big Ten right now. I don't see USC as a contender in the Big Ten. Probably not even next year. Maybe the year after that. Just kind of depends on how recruiting goes and how Lincoln Riley can actually, if he can actually do anything at USC, because he hasn't done anything since he's got there, in my opinion. Notre Dame Stanford, another one we thought was just going to be an absolute blowout, and yet again we were right, 49-7. So we'll skip down to that one. Another blowout, but we will talk about it just a little bit. Texas OU. 34-3. Absolutely destroyed them.
It destroyed them, and I think it's kind of how I called that last week. I thought yours was going to come out, look a little rough in that first, bust off some of that rust, and then you had that massive second quarter where they just tied on 21 on them, and then it was just from there.
It's funny you mentioned that 21.
I would say that defense also was rough on that OU offense.
Oh yeah, the Texas's defense is easily the best in the country. There's not even another team I could put in the same tier.
They're definitely they're a top tier, and I think it's one of those ones we'll see what they look like this week against Georgia. This is another, like I said, we talked about it last week. This is a little rough stretch for them. You've got OU. Normally that game is a very competitive game. It's always played. It's a rivalry. So it'll be an interesting one to see how it plays out this week with Georgia, and see if they roll Georgia, I think you have to start looking at Texas as being a top favorite for that national championship.
Absolutely. Georgia's got a top 10 passing offense. Kind of going under the radar, but they haven't really played anybody with an elite pass defense. They played Clemson, and they did Beck looked okay. They played Bama, and Beck threw for 400 yards, but I don't really see a lot of skill. But they do have they have a passing offense. Yeah, that's really good. So it's a good test. I think this is a good test for Texas, and I know OU doesn't have the greatest offense. Probably one of the worst offenses I've ever seen from an Oklahoma squad.
And right now, Texas is ranked 7th in the nation in points for, and ranks 1st in the nation of points against. They're only allowing 6.3 points a game.
You say 6?
Yes.
That's insane.
The most anybody has scored on them this season was Mississippi State at 13. Michigan put up 12, and then the rest of your totals on that were 3 against Oklahoma, 3 against UL Monroe. UTSA put up 7, and then they skunked Colorado State. So it's one of those that, like I said, and we talked about this last week too. After that Georgia game, I'm not really worried about anything until the last game of the season against A&M.
Yeah, which you have to be. I mean, just in general, you have to be. One, A&M's looking really good.
That's
as of right now, and you're playing at Kyle Field.
You're playing in Kyle Field, and this is the first time that you've played in the last 12 years, I think. It's definitely going to be one of those. I love that rivalry right there. I think it's going to be a great game. So I'm definitely ready for that end of the season there, right before you get into the SEC championship.
For sure. Georgia, Mississippi State. We just talked about Georgia. This one was weird. They won 41-31. They gave up 31 points to Mississippi State, who has not been that good. They haven't been good. Not that good. They haven't been good at all.
And as we talk about Mississippi State with Georgia playing Texas this week, Texas only allowed 13 points from Mississippi State, and Georgia just allowed 31. And you're going against one of the top 10 offenses this week in Texas
on the road.
Yeah,
on the road against arguably the best team in the country, with one of the best offenses in the country, and it's not even really not even a question. I know they haven't played.
And that
great
stadium
offenses.
Is going to be loud.
It's going to be nuts. Yeah,
it is going to be
definitely one I'm going to watch. But I think this game yes, they're playing Texas, but I think this is going to show. And I said this last week about LSU, and I'm really skeptical to say it again, but this is like a prove it game to Georgia.
Yep.
Like, this is how you show who you are. And this is the kind of game I think Alabama needs. And it's perfect that they're at Tennessee because they can show. Because last time they was in Knoxville, they lost.
Yep.
They lost 2 years ago in Knoxville. So if they can come out with a win, if they can win by double digits, that would be huge.
Yep.
I don't know if they can, but I just know it would be huge. But Georgia, they need to keep this one close, really, yep. And that would be better than.
Better
than winning, obviously.
I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think you have Quinn coming off a game where he threw for 20 for 29, 199 yards and a touchdown. Like, he was efficient. And like I said, and he didn't need to throw a lot. I mean, Wisner ran for 118 yards on 13 carries. So it's one of those that, like, you don't just have to worry about Quinn. You've got to worry about that run. It is gonna be a long day for Georgia this week, and like I said, we'll see how it plays. But it's good. I think you look at it, it's definitely one of those games that we're excited for this week.
For sure. BYU Arizona, back to the Big 12. I watched quite a bit of this game. BYU dominated them, not from the start, but pretty much from the second half of the second quarter to the end of the game. That was BYU's game, and nothing was going to stop them from absolutely blowing them out of the water. They ended up winning by 22, 41-19. Arizona is just not the same.
Arizona's inconsistent.
They are. They go to 3-3 on the season.
You go from playing Utah and playing Utah and winning to playing close against Tech and losing, and then you just get blown out by BYU. I think this comes into another one of those where we talked about it earlier with the team like Alabama, where like you just need an identity. Commit to what you want to do and stay to it. You're going to have to.
Yeah, I mean, new head coach, obviously Jed Fish left for Washington after DeBoer left for Bama, which was a huge deal. But they did retain Noah Fafita and Tet McMillan. They're two big names offensively. They also have a pretty decent running back that I can't think of his name. Conley. I know it's Conley. I know that's his last name. But he's not bad either. But something about Arizona is just not clicking.
Yeah, I'd love to pronounce that kid's first name. It's not going to happen.
It's like Tetaroa. I think
it's Kuali. It's
the wide receiver.
I thought we were talking about the running back.
Oh, yeah. I don't. Is that his? You don't have to try to pronounce it if you don't want to.
Yeah, it's like Kuali. It's Quali. Conley. Kuali, yeah. Conley, I guess.
From what I've seen, he's pretty good.
But like I said, I don't think we had any doubts on BYU winning that. It was one of those that we thought that if Arizona came out and was going to play like they did against Utah, that they'd be able to stay in it, or were we going to get the team that was going to play inconsistent like they did against Tech and everybody else? So I don't think it's anything to bat an eye at. It is what it is.
Right. I mean, another undefeated team. BYU's looking good though. They're been more impressive than say Pitt.
Yeah,
for sure. I think that's obvious.
I think it's one of those ones I like. I like BYU's wins a lot more than I like Pitt's. I mean, if you look at that, they beat SMU early in the season. Like, that was a close one for them, 18-15. SMU is now ranked. And like I said, we won't talk about that other one where they just absolutely romped somebody. But yeah, it's one of those.
That was definitely a good win for them.
And that's the thing. If you look at the back half of BYU's schedule, it's not hard.
No.
Oklahoma State, UCF, Utah, Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston.
Those are all definitely winnable games.
I was like, with Utah, like Utah hasn't looked good the past two games. I'm not like, you wonder if they're even going to show up. The only one I really look at on that, and if they continue to play like they are, is Arizona State at the back half of the season. So it'll be good to keep an eye on that.
Like scare game, I guess.
Yeah.
Like they keep it close to the end, just somehow. Like maybe BYU's like touchdown 10-point favorites, and Utah keeps it down to the wire, and they end up losing by like a touchdown or three.
Yeah.
Like I could see that happening just because there's that it's just a rivalry game. And you never want to see, honestly, you never want to see the rivalry games just be absolute blowouts. But I can see
we had one of those this past week.
We did. Another undefeated team in the Big 12, though, Iowa State and West Virginia.
That was one of those ones that you thought could have been an upset.
Yep.
Iowa State came out, and like I said, so they put some points up, and they kept it. Like I said, we never had any doubts on their defense. It was one of those, are they going to be able to keep up in offensive points? And so they made it happen. I think it's a great win for them. You stay undefeated, and keep moving forward. Ranked 11th in the nation. I think it's simple.
Yeah, I think they jumped up to 9. I thought.
I'm looking at I've got last week's scores up. So last week they were 11, so maybe they jumped up. I don't have the.
Yeah, I think they jumped into the top 10. But yeah, you're right. It's another good road win for Iowa State. Another team that doesn't really have the toughest schedule at basically until the last game of the season when you have Armageddon against Kansas State.
Yeah, they jumped up to 9 this week.
Mm-hmm.
So
probably the most surprising game.
Yeah.
Did you have something else on that?
Oh no, I was going to say my take is that LSU Ole Miss game.
I feel like this one's a little bit more surprising.
I don't think so, because we were completely opposites on this, and you thought Ole Miss was going to roll.
I did. Okay, we're gonna jump. We'll jump to the Ole Miss LSU game. I'm a big man. I can admit when I'm wrong. I thought Ole Miss was going to come out and absolutely knock the socks off LSU. And really, they should have. They had a 96% chance to win this game at one point, and they ended up losing in overtime, 29-26.
That's rough.
And I got to give respect to LSU. That was a great win for LSU. Obviously, you got to start taking LSU seriously.
I think you do, and I think you've got over the next 3 games for them. You've got 2 ranked opponents. You've got Arkansas, which is their only unranked coming up, and then you've got Texas A&M at Kyle Field, which you go in at Kyle Field and win. Like that's big. That's going to be that could be a top 10 matchup right there. And then you have Alabama in Death Valley. It's one of those, if you go back-to-back games, win at Kyle Field, and take Alabama, which is always a good game, I think you really put a stamp on going and showing who you are and what you're doing. And I think a lot of people look back at that weird first loss that you had against USC at the beginning of the season, which they were in that game anyways. They could have won it. And you start going, well, these guys could show up in the playoffs.
They could definitely make some noise there. But yeah, definitely. I want to save my notes because I do have something for LSU later. Tennessee, Florida. This one also went to overtime, which is wild. This one in Knoxville, Florida came in and took them to overtime, and they had no business. Like going into this game, they had no business being there. I think
there were 4 overtime games last week.
Yeah.
You had that Illinois game, the
Ole Miss, LSU, Tennessee, Florida,
and then the Penn State,
USC. That's right. But yeah, Tennessee, I think they were like 2 touchdown favorites going into that. Florida had no business doing that, going in there and making it a game. I think they caught Tennessee kind of down after that Arkansas loss.
Yep.
Which speaking of the Arkansas,
I think we both thought was like, are we going to have Tennessee that's going to be able to bounce back, or are they going to be in their feels a little bit? And we'll see how this plays out.
I still think they're in their feels a little bit.
We could be, and this is, like I said, and I think this is a good hard-fought win for him, and I think it's a good bounce back after that loss. You showed that your determination can get it done. Like I said, we'll see this week. Like I said, we'll find out real quick if you're back and you're not in your feels, because like I said, I'm sorry, regardless of Alabama being kind of not having an identity. They're still a great team. They've still got playmakers on both sides of the ball. I don't think that's an easy game for them. I think it's going to be one of those ones that you're going to have to come out and show. that you're a top 10 team in the nation.
Right. Quick question: who's better, Florida or Arizona?
I think Florida. Florida at
Barely.
3. I think at 3-3, sitting in the SEC. I think that's one of those definitely showing up against Tennessee. I think it's hard. It's like what are their losses?
Tennessee.
You had a loss
and
against
Miami.
Yeah, so you had a loss against 3 ranked opponents. That's your only losses. I don't hate it, and it's one of those ones that like
I feel like Florida and Arizona are very kind of similar. It's like they don't really have kind of like an identity. They have played, obviously they've played better opponents. Obviously, SEC is way stronger than the Big 12. Everyone knows it, but they just seem to be very similar in how.
Right, and it'll also be interesting to see how Florida bounces back after losing the QB too.
Right, but they have. I mean, which one went down, Mertz or Lagway?
Mertz.
Okay, but they have DJ Lagway, who I think is a better quarterback personally.
No, absolutely, but it's still one of those that you've been going Mertz. So
right, Mertz has the experience, which is fair.
But this gives the backup a chance to come in and show what he can do. So we'll see. It could be one of those that it sparks something, and like I said, they make a nice little run to finish the back half of the season because, like I said, they do not have an easy schedule.
Well, no, I really don't think anyone has an easy schedule in the SEC.
Kentucky next, and then listen to the 4 games after that: Georgia, Texas, LSU, and Ole Miss. That is brutal, and that is
it? How many of those games are at home?
3 of them.
Okay, which one's on the road?
Georgia. You've got Texas on the road at DKR.
Yikes.
That one's going to be rough.
Well, like at least they got Ole Miss at home. I don't know, something about Ole Miss playing at home. I know they just lost to Kentucky at home, but I feel like that would have been like, yeah, Ole Miss is going to rout them.
Yeah, like I said, I'm looking at the back half of that. Like that is a rough 4-game stretch.
Yeah, for sure. Boise State, Hawaii. Boise State, 28-7. You said Janty would go over 200 yards. I think he ran for 218.
217 on 31 carries.
31 carries. That was the big surprise to me.
I thought he was going to have a couple more TDs, but I mean, I'll take it. It's one of those ones. He had 1.
3? He only had 1.
Yeah.
Wow.
But 217 yards, like that's putting the team on his back.
Pretty much. We'll talk about K-State, Colorado, and then we'll do Ohio State, Oregon.
Gotcha.
2 very close games. Kansas State 31, Colorado 28. Obviously, I watched pretty much every snap of this game.
Yeah.
Colorado fought back. I got to give it to them.
And that's the thing. Like
without Travis Hunter, without is it Jimmy? I think it's Jimmy Horn.
Yeah. I mean,
obviously, not having Travis Hunter is way bigger of a loss.
And that's the thing. Like, you have Travis Hunter. Like, I wonder if that game goes a little different. Because, and that's the thing.
It might, but I don't know if you saw the play, but I don't think he would have been covering Jace Brown on that deep shot.
No, but it's one of those that what else would he have broken up in between that?
Right. He could, he could have made other plays for sure. Not going to.
No, and it's one of those ones that like Shador was on it. 34 out of 40 for 388 and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
like
he looked really good.
And I think at 4-2, like I mean, I think it's hard not to like still put them into like anything can happen in the back half of the season in the Big 12. I don't think the Big 12's anybody's just to take. I think you're going to have some games that could go one way, left or right.
Well, especially with BYU and Iowa State both undefeated, and they don't play each other. They wouldn't play each other until the Big 12 championship game. So
I think it could. Like I said, we'll see how it plays. Like I said, but I think that Big 12 could be interesting.
It's definitely still open. Obviously, Kansas State's still in the running. They only have the 1 loss.
They got that 1 loss. Kansas State, for the most part, has got a pretty, I wouldn't say easy, but I mean, it's got a pretty lax schedule until that final game against Iowa State.
And so you got what? You got Houston, Arizona State, Cincinnati.
The next in order, you've got at West Virginia, Kansas at home, at Houston, Arizona State at home, Cincinnati at home, and then away for Iowa State.
Yeah, I think obviously the toughest game is on the road at Iowa State.
Yep.
But I don't think they should have a problem getting there. I mean, it would have to take a BYU kind of. It's just not their day. Everything just goes wrong for them to not be,
sitting undefeated.
Yeah.
Definitely with as easy as the back half of that schedule looks like for BYU.
Yeah. Yeah, especially having Arizona State at home, Cincinnati at home. Granted, the Cincinnati one kind of scares me because Kansas State doesn't have the best pass defense, and Cincinnati's pass offense is actually pretty decent. I think they're top 25 in FBS for, passing offense wise. If not, they're definitely in the top 50.
Yeah, I mean,
so a little scary there. I'll give but again,
Cincinnati's quarterback is 15th in the nation in passing yards.
Yeah, definitely not a bad passing offense there. But let's get to probably the game of the week. It was Ohio State, Oregon. Another one of those games that I watched pretty much every snap of. Ohio State sold my parlay. If anyone cares, I wasn't mad about it. I'm totally mad about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. I think Oregon was a cheeky call.
Which one?
That one with 12 men on the field
that they did on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's NCAA's already come out and said that they're gonna go back and take a look.
They said something. I saw something go through when I was watching the Sam game. And something scrolled on the ticker that said something about how the NCAA is going to be handling that.
Yeah.
Because basically time went off the clock because they ran that play, and they don't put the time back on the clock.
Yeah, so they lost 4 seconds.
Right. And if they have that 4 seconds back, Will Howard's still able to run, which is just I mean, I know you have to gain yards. You can't really throw it away in that situation, but you're pretty close to field goal range. All you have to do is run like 4 or 5 yards and then get down.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he got to the ground and the clock hit 0, unfortunately. Because there's also only so many people that can actually call a timeout. Players, I don't think, can call timeouts.
I'm not sure, and that could have been one of those where the coach was sitting over right on the sideline ref and just been like waiting to.
But even then, he had to get down, and then you can't just be calling a timeout. Hey, call a timeout as soon as his knee hits the ground. You can't do that.
But if you're sitting next to him, it shouldn't have been bad. You're watching it. You should have been able, as soon as he hits, just. But it's one of those, like, yeah, it was cheeky, and it great. Like I said, it was a great game. I just I don't like it. That's a bullshit. That's a bullshit move. But
it is.
And I think
Ohio State kind of killed themselves, though.
And I think what gets under my skin the most is that, like, the Oregon coach knew exactly what he was doing and did it on purpose. Fuck you. Like, you're a scumbag. Eat a bag of dicks. That is fucking shitty way to win a game.
I mean, if it's legal.
A win's a win. I get it, but fuck you for that.
morally, yeah, it's kind of a shady way to win.
Exactly.
I'll agree.
But, I mean, a win's a win.
Still love him as a head coach. I think he's a great coach. No. Not because of that. I think he has other things that he's absolutely great at.
But that's
great win for Oregon. I think Ohio State, if they could just avoid the big play, they win that game.
Yep. Probably
by a touchdown. But they couldn't stop the big plays. They kept getting beat deep.
Right now, and I think you'll look at Ohio State, and it's a first loss. I said that they're going to be fine. It's one of those, everybody had that marked on their calendar because that was going to be a big game. I think going forward, you're going to look at some of those other games they've got. They've still got 2 undefeated teams on their schedule.
Is that Penn State game at home or on the road?
It's away. And then they have Indiana at home.
Yeah.
So, like that second to last game before Michigan.
Right. So they have kind of a tough road. I mean, obviously Ohio State, Michigan, you can't write off Michigan in that game. But
you never can.
Ohio State, they got to they only dropped to 4 in the rankings. So they're still the best one-loss team according to the rankings. and I think that's right. I think if Penn State
absolutely.
has a loss somewhere, I think Ohio State's ranked third. But it is what it is. Great win for Oregon. I think it really kind of puts Oregon as the top dog to beat in the Big Ten right now.
Yep. Like I said, I mean, I think we'll be fine. I think it's one of those. Oregon still got 6 first place votes, so people are viewing that as a big.
Oh, it's definitely a big win for sure. And then, like I said, it puts them at the head of the table in the Big Ten right now.
I think everybody right now is chasing UT.
Yeah, everyone's still chasing Texas nationally. All right. Spend a little more time on that than I thought we would.
It happens.
Top 10 QBs in college football right now. I'm going to have you give 3, so 10, 9, 8, and we can talk about it, and I'll give you my 10, 9, 8 if they're different. Or do you want me to start?
You can start. Yeah, I'm going to be doming this one. So
you're going off the top of your head here.
Yeah, I know you put a little bit. You put some thought into it, so I'll let you run off with it to start with.
All right, so at number 10, I have a group of 5 quarterback.
Okay.
Darian Mensah out of Tulane.
Okay.
Not a lot of people know about this kid. He's a sophomore. He looked, and of course they played K-State, so I've watched him play. He looks like one of the most experienced young quarterbacks in a very long time. Like that guy could, if he wanted to transfer to a Power 5 school, I think he would start right away, no problem. And
right.
He fit right in pretty much anywhere. SEC, Big 12, Big 10, he could do it. LSU calls, if he's like, yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to transfer. And, I feel like I can get some interest from, LSU, who's, Nussmeier's a senior, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if he has a good enough season,
wrong.
If they've got a good enough season, you never know if the kid wants to just declare.
Right. 1,200 yards so far. Not a ton of yards, but they do run the ball quite a bit. 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He's a very efficient quarterback. I encourage people to, if you can find a Tulane game on ESPN, watch this kid play. He is very smart with the football, takes care of it, and can run that offense very, very well. He actually beat out an Oregon transfer quarterback that came in.
Kid out of LSU is a junior.
Oh, he's a junior. Darn. Yep. Well, he may declare. Anyways,
and he's having a pretty decent season too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll get to him in just a second. Actually, spoiler, he's on the list. Number 9, I have Kyle McCord, Syracuse quarterback.
Okay.
Transfer from Ohio State, was kind of written off. Oh yeah, he wasn't he was pretty good at Ohio State. For sure. I think he's better than Will Howard, but I don't know what the decision making there was. Obviously, I had my own thoughts on Will Howard, but Kyle McCord has already thrown for over 2,000 yards. He's got 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. A lot of interception it's an interception a game.
Yeah.
They've lost a couple close ones, but they've beaten some good teams too. But just in general, I think Kyle McCord has been one of the better quarterbacks in college football at the moment. Number 8 is where I have Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback at LSU. If you would have asked me last week, I wouldn't have put him in this list. After last week, I may have to move him higher.
I was going to say you've got him a little lower than I would. I'd probably, like I said, we're going to get to it, but I've probably got him a little higher up.
Yeah, but I mean I was about to say, I may have to move him up if this continues, if LSU continues to play well and Nussmeier continues to play well. I mean, 1,900 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I mean, that's just going to happen. But really, I'm not going to say going under the radar. They're basically a top 10 team.
Yep.
And they just beat Ole Miss, who is a very good team. So I've gained a lot of respect for Garrett Nussmeier and the LSU Tigers. All right. Do you want to go or do you want me to keep going?
I mean, I'll rack off 3. I like Cincinnati's quarterback. And I'm gonna do no give an order on mine just because I really haven't put a whole lot of thought to it. I like Sorsby. I mean, he's got over 1,700 yards. 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, so he's being efficient with the ball. I think that Cincinnati team, we brought it up earlier, they're going to have a very pass-heavy offense. So I think that's good. Next, I'm going to do Chandler Morris out of UNT.
I love it. I considered him for this list, but I couldn't think that I could put him in there given the competition. I know it's the same conference as Tulane, but
it's still one of those ones the kid's thrown just shy of almost 2,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. I mean, kid's coming out and balling.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the UNT FAU game. It was insane. They were down. I think they were down either 10 or 14 in the fourth quarter, and they ended up coming back and win that one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like UNT, not like it's not like they've had any kind of like. Only loss they've had to Tech, which, like I said, a Big 12 team. So, but
and I watched that game, and that was one of those games that everything went wrong.
Right, you're gonna have sometimes you're just gonna have that.
Yeah,
and that's then oh, absolutely. Another one that I kind of like is going to be Alan Bowman, old guy out of fucking Oklahoma State.
You're putting Alan Bowman in this list.
I like him. It's one of those ones that like he's been fun to watch. Like I like Oklahoma State. Like it's just I think doing it's fun to watch him. I don't care.
It's just Brendan Whedon reincarnated.
Yeah, you got to. But being the old guy, you got to like the old guy playing still. But I mean,
who else on this list? Cam Rising.
I was gonna say if you don't want to throw him there, I mean, I like Jordan McLeod out of Texas State as well.
There's another guy that was a contender for this list as well. He's been real good, especially with his legs.
And like I said, that's just mine. I also look at Bowman's got close to 1,700 yards as well. He needs to be a little bit more efficient with the ball. I think Oklahoma State, if he turns and starts being a bit more efficient with the ball, that probably changes. He's got 8 interceptions. But, I mean, you can take him off and throw McLeod on there. McLeod's got a 19 touchdown to 5 interception for his with
how many's he got on the ground? How many touchdowns he got on the ground? I know he's responsible for a bunch of points. I think it was like 138 points responsibility, something like that. I was looking at it earlier.
He's got 4 on the ground.
Okay. So he's responsible for, 23 touchdowns? You said 19, right?
Yeah. So I like it. I mean,
all right, I'm going to go from 7 to 4 on mine. At 7, and I think this is where I may need to make a switch, but I'm still I was kind of back and forth. I got Jalen Milroe at 7. Little under 1,500 yards passing. But he's got 11 touchdowns on the ground, 12 touchdowns through the air, 4 interceptions. The interceptions, they have not all been his. 2 of them hit his players in the face, literally hit them in the face.
Right.
So not really going to look at the interceptions, but I think he's been a good enough quarterback to be in the top 10. I don't have him in my top 5. I wanted to, but the guys ahead of him, I think, just kind of stand out a little bit more, are just better quarterbacks. And these also, these aren't quarterbacks that are like, ready for the next level. These are just who's playing the best right now and who do we think.
I think it's also you take into who's fun to watch. Sometimes
Jalen Milroe is fun to watch. He's fun to watch. The guy can run. Another one that's fun to watch, and I watch a lot of it. Shedeur Sanders, I have at 6, and I think I could move him up in this one.
I was to say, like, definitely after that game this past week, he was real efficient.
Now that I'm going through the list, I was like, I could probably move these guys up a little bit.
I like Shedeur probably as one of the he's got to be a top 5 quarterback in college football right now. I think there's a very great chance that he's the first quarterback off the board. I don't like him first off the board. I don't think he's going to translate into the NFL.
I think he's going to need an absolute ego check once he gets into the NFL. Yeah. But I said the same thing about Caleb Williams, and now he's actually he's maturing as he plays. I don't know if Shedeur can do that. I think there's so much there. There's so much not air in his head, but there's so much he's got a bigger head than Caleb Williams did, in my opinion.
There's an ego there, and I think that comes along with just who his dad is and kind of just how how they play ball over at fucking Colorado. So I think it should be fine. I think he's a
I'm going to
top.
send you the highlights. I'm going to send you the highlight package that K-State put together of Shiloh Sanders in that game this weekend.
Oh, Jesus.
Brutal. I'll send it to you once we're done. It's great.
That was your 6. Who do you got at 5?
That was 6. Over 2,000 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. So right up the par with some of the best. Definitely, he's arguably. I kind of made this list, for a little maybe surprise. But at 5, I have Drew Allar from Penn State.
Okay.
He's kind of impressed me in the last 2 weeks, so that's why he's in my top 5. I kind of went back and forth on Sanders and Allar, but I've gone with Allar, a little over 1,500 yards, but they do have a very good running back in Nicholas Singleton. They give the ball quite a bit. 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Not the stats, but I just think his ability to throw has improved so much this year compared to last. That's why he's in my top 5 over Sanders. And then number 4, Curtis Rourke, the quarterback at Indiana.
I was gonna say he definitely. I think he definitely deserves to be in the top 10 right now. Dude's balling out. He's 1,700 yards, 14 TDs, 2 interceptions. He
leads the NCAA in passing efficiency.
Yeah.
There's no question he's got to be in the top 5 if you lead the country in passing efficiency.
Let's see. He's
especially at Power 14.
He's 5th in the nation right now in completion.
What's his completion percentage?
73.8.
That's nuts. I would love to see them keep it going. I don't know if they'd be able to make noise with the top teams just as all around. I don't know if they can hang, but we'll see. I know that they play in the Big Ten, so they're going to play some good teams. They obviously have Ohio State going later in the season, but it's going to be interesting if they can be undefeated going to that Ohio State game. That's a game that, yeah, they're undefeated, but they still really don't have anything to lose. They're still good. Speaking of anything to lose, Sam Houston's getting rolled right now. They just do another interception.
Sounds about right.
Sorry if you guys can hear my dog playing with the toy in the background. I know YouTube can see him playing with it. They pick it up on the mic. I'm sure it is.
Oh, it is. I can hear it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think like I said, you're right on par with that. Like I said, and I think just because I didn't do a whole lot of research into this, let's just knock out your 4. Because if I had to guess where you're going to go with that, I'm going to.
There's only 3 left, and their 3s should be pretty obvious.
It should be probably. It should probably. If I had to take a wild stab in the dark, you're probably looking at Dart, Ward, and who's your 3rd that you could probably rearrange.
Number 3 is Dylan Gabriel.
Okay.
I think after this one, he's definitely gone up in my board. Last week, he probably would have been around the 7-8.
And if I had to, and where you're going with that 2, I'd probably have Dart, and 1, I'd probably have Ward. I think the only person that we miss off of this list, and it's just because he was out for 2 games, is Ewers. I think Ewers has to be considered a top 10 quarterback in college football right now.
I didn't even think about Quentin Ewers. Not even gonna lie.
Yeah,
I think he lost my mind.
And I think he's kind of getting overlooked because he was out for 2 games and Arch started. But I think you come back last week against Oklahoma. You have a really efficient game for the most part. You led your team. I think going forward, definitely we'll see what it looks like this week against Georgia. But I definitely would probably have him just because you can't put him in your top 5 right now just because he has missed 2. But I'd probably have him somewhere in that 7 to 5 range.
Yeah, I would put him in there for sure. So you can knock Gary Mensah out there. I still encourage you guys to go watch that kid play. But you could even. I'd put him at. If I was to reinsert him in this list, I'd probably put him at. It'd be really tough between. I'd have to do a 1A, 1B between him and Cam Moore. I think Ewers is talent-wise. I think him and Cam Moore are the best.
I got in a conversation today with somebody about it. I think Ewers could be the best quarterback out of this draft. I think if I'm Ewers, I would like something like Mahomes had, to where you're drafted to a team that does not need you to play first year. and you get to sit behind a really great veteran quarterback. And then that veteran quarterback is either told, hey, we appreciate it, or he retires. My thought on where I would love to see him next year is
Atlanta.
No, absolutely not.
They just took Penix, man. I'm making a joke.
I would love to see him on the Rams. Sit a year behind Stafford.
Were we talking about? I swear, maybe me and you were talking about this a few weeks ago.
We might have, but
because I said this. I feel like I said the same thing.
I want to see him sit behind somebody, and
I think we talked about this at the when we were tailgating.
Maybe we might have.
Because I was like, I know I've said that, and then I think it was to you. Not that you're stealing my take, but because I can't remember it, I'm not going to claim that you are. Right. But I know I've said that.
Like that, I like him there. Like that's just because I think he's missed 2 games, so I think it's going to affect his draft stock. Everything I've seen for where people are taking, he's not going to be like the 4th or 5th QB off the board, which I think is insane.
Yeah, but the draft experts always get it wrong.
Yeah,
which is crazy. No disrespect to like Mel Kiper, but the guy hasn't gotten a lot of drafts right. He's been doing it for 40 years?
Right. Longer than we've been alive.
You're not gonna, and no one's gonna get it right.
No, like you don't know what.
I'm not gonna say anyone would be better at his job than him, but
you have no idea what these GMs are doing. That's like as of right now, the Cowboys are expected to take Janty because
I saw that today too.
That run offense is abysmal.
Well, they need a running back.
Oh, it's not like they couldn't have paid an extra $4 million and gotten the number 1 running back in the league right now.
Yeah, I don't know what their GM's doing. Oh yeah, nothing.
Because yelling at kids on the radio.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But
any other like names that you think maybe should be on this list?
Josh Hoover. I think, and that's going to be one of those that you don't look at him a whole lot just because they're a 3-loss team. But I mean, I don't hate it. Like it's not like he's inefficient with the ball. He's 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for over 2K.
Yeah, I mean, the kid could throw. I'm not going to say he could throw, but
what a quarterback's expected to do?
Lead. Tell me I'm wrong. They're supposed to do the throwing part.
How did Caleb Williams go 1 then? He doesn't lead.
Yeah, he just cries.
Yeah, he cries and paints his fucking nails.
I wasn't going to say it like that, but I was going to say that.
I mean, it's one of those ones that, like, at the end of the day, like, I mean, yes, you would love to have your quarterback be the leader of your team. There's some quarterbacks that just aren't going to be like that. I'm sorry. Look at the Jets. I'm sorry. Aaron Rodgers isn't the leader of that team. He's the quarterback.
I don't know. He fired Saleh. He
allegedly
told Devonta Adams to fake a hamstring injury to get traded.
No,
he uses Devonta to heal that said hamstring injury, in my opinion. And he's going to have the Jets sign Marquez Valdez-Scantling because he just got released with the Bills.
Whoa. As we talked about the Bills, that Amari Cooper trade.
Well, that's why Valdez-Scantling got cut, because they brought in Amari Cooper. Great move for the Bills, by the way.
Also, like, let's talk about how Amari Cooper has been traded for a bag of chips twice.
Yeah, it's a little disrespectful.
He's a Pro Bowler that has now been traded twice. First from Dallas to Cleveland for a 6th-rounder.
Well, he also he got traded for a first from Tech at the time. It was Oakland.
Yeah.
To Dallas, right? It was a first.
That sounds right. And then they traded him like 2 or 3 years later for a 6th.
Yeah, but they also cut his contract that they gave him. That was like $100 million, which now doesn't look too bad.
Absolutely not. Be better than
they have CD and Amari Cooper. Well, they did have that at one point, but to have it now would be nuts.
But no, like I said, I'm hoping we get some interesting trades coming up, because, like I said, we'll talk about NFL. We'll take a break from college football next week, and we'll talk NFL and maybe get into some NHL as well, because
NHL season finally started. Our Stars 4-0.
Yeah, I got to catch Game 3 against the Kraken.
Yeah. Squeaky win against San Jose. I don't know if you watched it, but
I didn't get to catch it.
Won that one in a shootout.
Oh, I gotta go catch the highlights then.
The shootout was great though. We put the puck away for sure. I think he scored on all three shots. Robertson, Duchesne, Johnston. Yeah.
Nice. But
so it was good. But yeah, we'll talk NFL or some other sport next week. We'll take a break from college football. But that's going to do it.
Ramble about everything.
Yeah, that's going to do it for episode 2. Hope you guys enjoyed. People on YouTube, like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys next week.